So the graphics card market is finally normalizing. Memory prices are still high, but CPU manufacturers, both AMD and Intel, have good offerings in almost every price tier. But if you take a look at total system cost at this time, it still is out of the reach for a lot of buyers, unfortunately. So the secondhand market is something that has to be explored. So I went and I explored it. Ready to dive into custom water cooling but unclear about what parts you might need? Check out Thermaltake's new M360 Plus RGB kit. Featuring a D5 pump res combo, 16mm hard tube, Pacific C Pro fittings, and the best RGB implementation on the market, the M360 Plus fits all mainstream Intel and AMD sockets and is fully expandable as your system evolves. Check out the link in the video description to learn more. Before we get into it, guys, don't forget that if you like this video, hit that like button down in the corner over there. If you really like this video and you want to see more of this kind of content, make sure you get subscribed if you are not already. Also, if you want to support what I'm doing on this channel, I just made a Patreon, the link is down below. And I also have merchandise in a merchandise store. Unfortunately, I am not wearing any right now. When I decided to do this project, I set a budget for myself of $400 US. Now, why $400? When you think about it, when you start to price out a system, a new build from Amazon or Newegg, and you get to the $500 or $600 price tier, you start talking reasonably about being able to put together a build on all new components. With the new AMD APUs, the 2200G and the 2400G, and even low-end graphics cards, which are still fairly reasonably priced, like the RX 550 and 560, or the NVIDIA 1050 or 1050 Ti even, you can probably put together a list for $500 or $600 that meets your 1080p gaming needs. So if you're going to spend that amount of money, it makes more sense to go new than used. But if you don't have $500 or $600 and you still want to get a good gaming experience, can you do it with used parts? I started out my search focusing on a CPU and motherboard. A lot of graphics cards are out there, and it kind of depends on what we end up spending on our platform to see how much we have left to allocate towards a GPU. I kind of got lucky because one of the first listings that I looked at, this guy had not only a CPU and motherboard for a very reasonable price, but also storage, power supply, memory, and cooler. So the original listing was for $100 for an AMD 8320 and this Gigabyte AM3 motherboard. And I figured I could negotiate a little bit off of that, but he also had in his listing, I think an OCZ power supply, like a 750 watt power supply. He had this Crucial Ballistics kit of DDR3. He had this 1TB Seagate hard drive for $50. He had this cooler that he said he was gonna throw in. So I tried to combo deal as best I could, and I negotiated quite a bit off of the total cost. I got a different power supply, a newer power supply actually, from Cooler Master, a Master Watt Lite 500, plus the same CPU motherboard combo, plus a 2x4 gig kit of DDR3 from Crucial, the 1TB Seagate hard drive, the Hyper 212 Plus cooler, all for $180. People are probably going to squawk that the AM3 platform and the 8320 are not a viable gaming chip. And we're gonna see if you're right, because I think we can prove otherwise. But for the rest of the components and being able to scoop up all of that stuff in one shot and know that it's all verified working and that it's verified working together, I was pretty happy with that deal. I asked people on Twitter what they thought that deal would cost if they went out and bought something on Craigslist themselves. I got some oddly low answers like $100, which I think is very unreasonable, but most people said $225, $250. Some people even said $300. So when you think about it, getting all those parts at once from the same person for $180 is a pretty good deal. Now, the other thing that we have on this table here is a EVGA GeForce GTX 1080 Ti box, because the GPU that we got was an Asus Strix 970. This card was listed on Craigslist for $200, and I got it for $150. This guy upgraded to the 1080 Ti, that's why he gave me the 1080 Ti box.
but he said he actually upgraded because he wanted to play Destiny 2, and then he became horribly disappointed because that game is poop. So basically in 2 transactions, we got almost everything we need except for a case. Now you don't see a case on this table, and if you guys could see to my left or to my right, there's no case there either. I didn't buy a case, and let me tell you why. It has nothing to do with the lack of availability or lack of variety or anything along those lines. It's simply the fact that I can't store another computer case in my house right now. I just have a complete lack of space. I did not want to go out and buy a secondhand case that I would only be using for this project just to store it. But for reference, here are some listings that I found. You can definitely get a totally serviceable computer case on Craigslist for anywhere between $10 and $40. So in order to price all this stuff out, I allocated 20 bucks towards a case because I found several in that range. So we have 180 for the CPU, motherboard, power supply, storage, cooler, and memory if I didn't say memory. We have $20 for a case, that's $200, and we have $150 for the GPU. So we're looking at a total system price here of $350 US. Can this game at 1080p and make it so that you can ride this out for another generation or 2? Let's put it together and find out. All right, all up and running. We got our FX 8320 running at a cool 24C here. I haven't overclocked it yet. I do plan on doing that if we need to. But for now, I just wanted to see how it performed at stock settings. I did overclock the GPU, and you can see the GPU is actually only running at 26C right now, but there's obviously no load on it. So we're gonna get into some games and see how it goes from there. One of the things though that I honestly forgot was how long it takes to install Windows and all drivers and required programs and games and stuff like that on a mechanical hard drive, because I haven't done it in quite a long time, and it took hours. It was excruciating. It's actually the next day from what you guys saw earlier on in the video. But you know what? Let me point the camera over here so you can see what's going on. So we've got everything set up here temporarily on a motherboard box. We got our cooler, we got our power supply over there, we got our graphics card, obviously the motherboard and the memory right here, and then the hard drive is actually just over in the back. So while we still wait for Doom to load, because again, we're dealing with a hard drive, I figured I'd just show you guys this. But I think it's about to get started, so I'm gonna move the camera back. All right, so finally we're all loaded up. You can see we're running OpenGL right now. We'll see how this works, and then we'll flip over to Vulkan and see if that makes any difference. But 1080p, VSync is off, and then if we go over to advanced settings, the Ultra preset. So 1080p Ultra, if we could handle this, that's a real good sign. So let's why don't we get into the game here and see how it goes. Okay, in game, in the Foundry scene, and there's 2 different ways that I'm monitoring FPS right now. This is through Riva Tuner, and then this is just the Doom built-in information screen. I'm gonna see if I could blow that up. There you go. So you guys have a better idea of what's going on. But right now we're running 90s, high 90s FPS, 1080p Ultra, which I think is pretty good. Pretty sure is pretty good. And I think I have my mouse sensitivity jacked all the way up. This feels weird. But yeah, as we run through here, I mean, there's no enemies right now, but now we're over 140 FPS. Yeah, so I mean, everything looks good so far. Textures look really good. I mean, it is the Ultra preset. I wouldn't expect it to look bad, I guess, but it could be running choppy or something along those lines. And it is certainly not. So as we get into this closed corridor, there's going to be some enemies. Yeah, there's going to be some enemies around here. Also some enemies. And we'll see how... There we go. All right. So 90... Saw a little bit of a... It was kind of choppy there for a second. But yeah, still over 100 FPS right now. And it's hard to both play this game and talk to you guys and monitor the FPS at the same time. But we're still running over 100 FPS, 1080p Ultra. This guy, come on, dude. Aha. So anyway, so yeah, over 100 FPS in Doom, 1080p Ultra in OpenGL. So that seems like a... Jeez, I got the pistol now? Come on, man. Give me something else. Yeah, so I'm definitely satisfied with Doom gameplay. Come on, I'm going to pistol you to death. Or I'm going to die. So, yeah, thumbs up for Doom. Let's see how Fortnite plays. And just quickly, we're back to the hardware monitor screen. We got up to 58C on the GPU and only 40C on the package for the 8320. I have a feeling this might be low. Might be a reporting error of some kind, because that's pretty good. Then again, we're not overclocked, so it's certainly possible. But 58C, the Asus, the Strix Direct CU2 cooler was one of the best of this generation, if not the best. So this doesn't actually surprise me at all, even though we are overclocked a little bit. So we're loading up Fortnite here. Now, be forewarned, I've never played Fortnite, ever. This is the first time I've ever installed it on any system. I'm going to get destroyed. I just want to see how the game runs. So, no making fun of me. Or, I mean, I guess you can make fun of me. That'd probably be fine. But, just know that it's not my fault. Okay, so here we are in the settings menu. Let's see what the... So, Far Cry defaulted me to 1080p, high quality. And I think, why don't we just leave it at that? VSync obviously is off. And we'll see frame rate. No, let's turn the frame rate limit to unlimited. But other than that, we'll leave it on high and see what happens. Yeah, so we jumped all the way up to, wow, that's a lot of frames. But we're in a menu, so we'll see how it runs in the game. And maybe we'll put it on Epic and see what happens. All right, so let's jump in and get wrecked. All right, so we are in the player loading screen and running at 100, 110 FPS, 115 FPS. Let's just kind of run around here a little bit and see what happens. See how this game actually works, because I literally have no idea what to do. All right, so I guess we're gonna drop in. But yeah, we're running at 120 FPS. Oh, no, now down to 106. But I suppose I need to drop at some point. Where should I drop? I literally have no idea where to drop. I'm gonna drop into a crater. That's probably too... All right, yeah, we'll go somewhere this way. Looks like I'm dropping right into a town. But yeah, 120 FPS in the air. I mean, I think probably once we get on the ground, it'll likely come down a little bit, but this is like a really long draw distance and it's still doing really well. But once we start drawing a little more detail of the ground, then I think that we'll get a better idea of exactly how we're working here. I'm gonna keep free diving. Let's go. Let's go. All right, speed this up. All right, this looks like a good place to land. I hope I don't land near anybody else, and I can just run around here for a little bit. All right, we're on the ground. 99 FPS right now, and everything looks good. This is on the high detail settings. Yeah, inside 120 FPS. I guess I could destroy most things in this world, right? That's kind of how the game works. You can just blow everything up. 95, yeah. Get outside, FPS dips a little bit down to like 100 or mid-90s, but when you go inside, it's like 120. But this looks a little flat. Let's see if we could change these detail settings, and hopefully I don't die immediately as I'm doing this. Let's put it on Epic and apply. Okay, so 80, 81, 82, 87. Yeah, so like mid 80s. How do I do anything in this game? I literally have no idea. Is that pointing me towards like somebody where somebody else is? Yeah, so this looks, I mean, looks like it's running really well to me, honestly. Mid 80s on Epic 1080p. So I guess this is like the equivalent of just Ultra. And yeah, running really good. So I'm gonna play this until I die, which will probably be very soon. And then we'll go to, well, the next thing you're gonna see is me playing Far Cry right now. Far Cry 5 all loaded up. Let's take a look at some of our settings. Again, 1080p. I'm running, this is actually 144 hertz monitor, so I just jacked the refresh rate up as high as it would go. But in quality, it's defaulted us to high, so we're gonna do the same thing that we did with Far Cry and leave it on high and see how it runs. And then VSync off. So those are the important ones. And I think what I want to do is I want to first run the benchmark and then get into some actual gameplay. So here's the benchmark. All right, an average frame rate of 64, which I think is really good because this is a pretty demanding game. Minimum FPS is only 52. So again, looks like our 970 is actually holding up pretty well for 1080p gaming. Let's get into actual gameplay and see if we can replicate these results. All right, so this is the part of the game that I have not yet been able to beat. So I'm gonna be probably dead pretty quick. I've only tried it a couple times, but it's especially difficult when you're dealing with playing with really subpar peripherals. I'm just playing with like a wireless mouse right now, but still we're maintaining that same mid 60s, high 60s. Oh, now down into the 40s. Okay, so I guess this fog is really doing us in here. But I guess if I look in a different direction, yeah. So like we're averaging around 60 FPS. I think this is probably one of the more difficult scenes to render. I would imagine it is anyway. And it's still doing pretty good. Like this is definitely very playable. I have to use a med kit or else I'm gonna die. I feel like I'm just falling out of this truck. But yeah, so still extremely playable, no choppiness. I really have no idea what the lows are, the 1% and 0.1% lows. But for now, I'm definitely very happy with this. And let's see if I can blow these guys up. Oh, I'm definitely gonna die real quick. But yeah, so looking good. Far Cry 5, very playable right now. 1080p high, and looking good. And I'm gonna be dead real soon. Am I dead? No, I just tabbed out. All right, let's end this. So guys, we've managed to build ourselves for $350 a really solid 1080p gaming machine. Now, is this gonna be the best for gaming and streaming at the same time, or video editing, content production, stuff like that? Most likely not. The 8320 is not gonna be the best for that. You're gonna need a little more horsepower, probably next generation components in order to get into that scene. But if you just wanna hop on a computer and game, this is a perfectly serviceable machine. And it costs us $350. I don't know that you could do better buying new parts or buying them elsewhere. So if you want to search for those deals, I know it's kind of a hassle sometimes, but they're out there. If you want to get a computer that works for you for the next, even if it's just a year, this will definitely do it. It'll get you by. You can play Fortnite to your heart's content. I hope you liked this video, guys. Get subscribed if you did. Hit that like button or leave a comment or something like that if you want to see more videos along these lines. This was a fun project for me. I really enjoyed it. I like doing the parts hunting, the bartering, the bargaining, the negotiating. It was entertaining. It gave me something to do. I definitely like to do it again for you guys if you liked it. So let me know, and see you guys in the next video.